But now, let's go on to royal news, because Prince Harry has once again lost his legal bid following the removal of his government-funded security. The Duke of Sussex attempted to challenge the decision from the Home Office not to let him hire armed police bodyguards when he visits the UK. Cue the tiny violin. Also, it's cost him about £1 million. So cue Meghan giving him a bit of a hard time. I think he's going to have a thick ear when he gets back to Montecito tonight, because he's going to have to tell her, I've lost another £1 million, darling. With me now is Rafe Heydel-Mankoo, historian and broadcaster. Welcome back, Rafe. This man seems to be addicted to lawfare, if we want to invest in that new word that Donald Trump invented. He can't stop suing people.
Well, I said before, he's got an addictive personality, clearly, because it does extend also to these law cases. Now, he's lost this right of appeal, but it's not the final right of appeal. So he can still appeal this one more time.
Right.
So
I mean, is he going to just keep going?
Well, it's only got one more stage to go.
Yeah.
But, you know, let's remind ourselves here, this is the first time in history that a member of the royal family has taken his father's government to court. Quite unprecedented.
Yes.
But in denying the appeal, it reinforces the original opinion, which was essentially that if you are not a working royal, why should the British taxpayer pay for your security?
Yes.
Prince Andrew doesn't have security. He's not a working royal.
Right.
We've seen, you know, with Prince William able to walk the streets of London and England perfectly fine without any sort of attacks on him. The idea that Prince Harry is somehow a special case. I mean, you remember the absurd scene during the coronation where you had the presidents of France and the First Lady of America coming over. And Prince Harry wanted his own private security detail. If the presidents of France and the First Lady are fine with the arrangements we have here, I don't see why he needs to have special arrangements.
But I think you've hit the nail on the head, because I think what Harry really wants is special treatment. Point, ends. He just wants special treatment in every situation that he's in. Because at the end of the day, here's a guy who feels that, he is somehow born into some right that he should be treated differently to everybody else. And that comes through in everything that he's written, and we'll come to the stuff he wrote about in Spare in a moment. But, when he first started the lawsuit, he said he didn't feel safe coming to Britain, that he sort of tried to invoke the unfortunate death of his mother as some kind of reason why he feared the public and why he feared being assassinated or whatever it was. And he said he didn't feel safe bringing his children here. But since he made those claims, he's been here loads of times.
He's been here loads of times, but also it's the exaggeration about the threat that he feels. Just because the press surround you, as they did when he was at an event in Kew Gardens, perfectly normal media scrum, somehow this became a security threat.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, if you are a celebrity, if you're a member of the royal family, you have to expect these sorts of things. These paparazzi aren't armed with machine guns or anything like that. He does have a perfectly competent security detail. They just aren't armed.
Right.
They're perfectly qualified to deal with that sort of a situation.
He also goes out in places like the United States of America, far more dangerous, I would say, where you're likely to have far more harm put upon you than you are in this country, because it's a place where something like 40,000 people are shot dead every single year, and so it seems remarkable, doesn't it? But so you think he's going to continue to the bitter end with this particular thing?
Oh, yes. I mean, look, he's had so many court cases on the go, and we've just had in America, of course, had this issue about his US visa.
Yes, I was coming on to that, yeah.
Oh, right, yes. Well, so we just had the American ambassador to this country has basically said that whatever happens, he won't be deported by the Biden administration, which is an extraordinary intervention
Isn't it just?
Into a court case by the federal government. When actually these issues haven't been resolved. The Heritage Foundation, who are the right-wing organisation that are bringing this law case to have Harry's visa application made public, say that the fact that the ambassador has now said this makes it even more important that we actually get to know here. Because he said that he likes to talk about himself as being very important. The whole reason of his book, Spare, was to say, well, my brother was privileged.
Yes.
I wasn't privileged. I was so hard done by. But if we now get to see that actually the government knew that he took drugs and let him in anyway. Right. Well, that's privilege there, is it not? He's treated differently. Or secondly, now we have them saying, well, whatever happens, he's never going to leave the country. Whereas any of us, if we were found to have lied on our application, we'd be booted out immediately.
Indeed, and certain
this guy is a complete beneficiary of privilege.
Yeah, and other people, I don't want to say their names because I'm not absolutely sure of them, have been refused entry to the US in the past because of previous... I think Nigella Lawson...
Nigella Lawson was stopped boarding a plane.
Because she wasn't allowed to get on a plane because she'd spoken previously about how she had occasionally used cocaine. I mean, his book, Spare, is full of him talking about magic mushrooms, smoking marijuana, which is not illegal in California, taking other drugs, cocaine, I think he mentions. There's no question that he claimed that he was so unhappy and so mentally mixed up that he took the drugs to make himself feel better. So if he has made all of that up, that makes him an even more
that's it.
desperately strange character, doesn't it?
It's a no-win situation. Either you lied on your application form, in which case, you're a liar, or you lied in spare, in which case you're a liar. You made money out of it. So which of these is? There's no way out of it for him. And actually, increasingly, there's no way of the government, either the US government, saving face here either.
Right.
In both of their cases, it seems as if they're both basically on a hiding to embarrassment.
Yeah, I think so. And it's a very strange place that he finds himself in, isn't it? Where he's sort of been kind of debanked, if you like, for want of a better word, in America. They're no longer the people that they thought they were going to be. They don't seem to. I see that at the weekend he was playing polo, and of course Meghan managed to make her way onto the winners' sort of podium and push everybody else out of the way while she stood there kissing him and holding the cup that he'd won. But there was also quite a funny video of him falling off the horse. Which people I know who know about horses say, well, he should never have fallen off that horse. If he's a pretty good horseman, that shouldn't have happened. But playing polo is hardly going to feed into their sort of amazing world of helping the underprivileged to sort of be given a helping hand.
It's literally called the sport of kings, right?
It
This is a man who wants to distance himself from the monarchy completely. And yet, so I mean, this is the most elitist, the most exclusive and expensive sport you can play on land, and it's completely runs contrary to this whole idea that he's one of the people singing Kumbaya while having his chai latte.
Yes.
But what you have to remember here now is that in America, it's really exclusively now the Meghan show.
Yes.
Meghan has now got this Netflix deal to do a show about cooking and gardening and entertaining and friendship.
Friendship, I'm looking forward to that one.
No mention of family, of course, because family is not her strong point.
Well, her family's at the moment, I think her brother has been sort of hauled over the coals for making fun of her. And apparently you're not allowed to do that anymore. So apparently YouTube have given him some kind of warning because he's been issuing what have been described to me as vile messages to her. But I mean, he's her brother. He's entitled to do it, isn't he?
Well, it's a bit of a, sort of a Les Dawson scene, Sissy and Ada's, how he looks in that. But yes, Meghan actually has now got everything that she wanted out of this relationship. She married Harry in order...
I was just showing off my new bump that I bought used on eBay out of Montecito.
Yeah, dearie me. And this is her giving him the cup, which I was describing earlier. Whereas at some point, it's all, and people have been describing her dress for this as particularly inappropriate as well.
But the point I'm trying to make here is that everything that Meghan did got her to this spot. She wanted to marry Harry to advance herself as an international star. She's using that to promote her lifestyle brand. And I think these new Netflix shows work very well with what she's done in terms of her American Riviera Orchard branding. But poor Harry doesn't have any discernible skills.
No.
There's no commercial abilities that he's got. He can be a prince, he can be a soldier, he can play polo. Well, Netflix have done the prince thing with the Harry and Meghan documentary. They've done the soldier bit with Invictus. And now they're doing polo with this show here. But beyond that, there's nothing that he has left.
No.
That's why he's been, I think, saying, well, I would be happy to come back to England and help out the royal family in their time of need. Because all that he knows to do is be a royal. I mean, this is the thing.
Well, I suppose if Donald Trump does win the presidential election in November, he may help him out with that particular wish because he could deport him.
Yes. Will the British people take him back? This is what...
Well, that's a very interesting point. I mean, whenever I've done any kind of sort of polling of people who watch this show and previous shows in the previous years, even before he was so sort of reviled, people were like, no, we don't want him back. I mean, I once did a show where I said that he should be stripped of his British citizenship because of the harm that he's trying to do to the royal family, who are, after all, the heads of state of this country. And almost everybody agreed with me. They just don't want to see him.
Harry, what have you done, Because you can really quite see in the future in a situation perhaps where, if he does want to come back to this country because he seems quite unhappy and rudderless in America. He's got no purpose. I mean, they're trying to create, essentially, in America, a mini version of of the royal court in Britain. Their website's more regal now. Ridiculous. They're calling their kids prince and princesses because all he knows to do is to cut a few ribbons, read a pre-scripted speech, and that's about it.
And the point about British royal family to Americans is that they like it because it's British. They don't like it because you live in California and because one of you is American. That's not what they like about the royal family. They like British royal family because they think it's a bit quirky, a bit weird. They live in these big, drafty sort of castles. They've got plenty of money, but they look like they got dressed, in the dark. you know, that's kind of what they like.
Well, and it requires prestige. You know, Charles de Gaulle once said, "Prestige cannot survive without mystery, for one reveres little what one knows well."
Yes.
And I'm sorry, we know Harry and Meghan far too well now.
More than I ever wished to know.
Exactly, even his Todger.
Yes.
So once you know that amount of information, as he put in his book Spare, it's very hard for people to look up to an institution or to a couple like that as being royal. They've just entered the world of LA celebrity stardom, which is a very vacuous and superficial world to inhabit, unfortunately.
Perfect for them.
Perhaps been very, very suitable.
Perfect for them. Rafe, thank you very much indeed. Rafe Heydel-Mankoo there.